Elliott Forrest here from WQXR. My artist check-in today is with cellist Sterling Elliott. Good to see you again.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Can we get the basics of who you are? You're 20-ish, is that right?
Yeah, I recently turned 21.
21. Oh, good for you. You can go out and drink if you want.
I know, right?
And,
Um,
yeah. And where are you in? Are you in school, right?
yes, I'm gonna be, well, assuming school will be going back, I'll be a rising senior at Juilliard. Um, I'm in my undergraduate degree. Right now, I'm currently in Virginia, Newport News, Virginia, home. Uh, yeah,
And you've been playing cello since you were 3, I think. Is
since
that
I was 3, yeah.
Yeah, and you played with all the major orchestras pretty much already, right?
And recently, recently been hitting some pretty big ones with New York Phil, Philadelphia recently, and I think my most recent concert, the last one before Corona happened, was at Carnegie Hall. I got to play Dvorak Concerto, so um, I was just going up there.
I know. I mean, exactly. And you were probably booked for what was the furthest out you were solid from before coronavirus? You were probably booked for a year or more. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say a good year.
Right. With performances with major orchestras. So, and then everything came to a halt,
Hmm.
and you're just on hold at this point. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Concerts. I think that the latest concert, I usually don't schedule anything for the summer because I do summer festivals, but I still have, so from September on, still have everything scheduled, and all of those concerts are just kind of in limbo. Will they happen? Will they not? No one really knows at the
Right.
moment. So
Right.
especially the artists, we don't know. So yeah,
Right. We'll take it one day at a time and hope you're back on stage soon.
exactly.
Um, Newport News, Virginia, is your home. Were you born there?
Yes, I was born in Hampton, Virginia. Moved to Newport News, Virginia. They're almost the same.
Right. And you come from a musical family. I know your older brother, quite accomplished violinist, went to Curtis. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. I grew up and having a musical family. My mom started us all. So I have two older siblings that play violin, and my mom also plays violin. She eventually wandered to the viola for the purpose of our string quartet. So we started our family string quartet when I was 5 years old. We used to play back in the day. We used to play everywhere, really around the country. It started with the most simple mall and library gigs in the local area, and next thing you know, we were doing concerts at the Boys and Girls Club, and then we were going to conferences in Boston, and we were going to San Francisco, and I'd say the bulk of what we were doing was when we were all very young, especially me. I think pretty much under 10 years old. Um, and then we kind of fizzled out once my oldest brother went to college. We haven't really played together in a bunch of years. But yeah, those were really fun times playing together all the time with your kin.
So, a number of things have caught my eye about you, particularly since we met. Most notably, the high level of playing that you're at, which is incredible. But you recently posted on Facebook a pretty open feeling of what you've been feeling the last couple of weeks, particularly since the murder of George Floyd. And well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you want to tell me basically the sort of things that you covered?
Sure, exactly. What really sparked that Facebook post, which I was basically talking about how seeing my my most important teachers and mentors in my life, seeing them, explicitly against this entire Black Lives Matter movement, it really kind of brought a different kind of and unique, I guess, like personal hurt. Um, A lot of people, they've been going on Facebook and other things and saying, if you don't agree with this, just remove me, just unfriend me, block me, goodbye. And when you see someone who um has been so crucial to your development as a person, as a musician, you look up to them and always have for so many years, and you see them um post things just basically disagreeing with everything that's happening right now, disagreeing with what we're fighting for. Um, it hurts. It hurts differently. Because I think I mentioned it in the post that like this isn't the way I view it, it's not some kind of political view that, it's either, I'm this way and you can be that way, but, we have our own separate things and that's okay. I feel like this is a pretty non-controversial fight for equality. We just want to fight for rights. I feel like there's really no kind of wiggle room here. It's just, why would you not want that? um, and so yeah, seeing certain teachers and mentors, really against that, it's kind of, I mean, I think also in a way I know that they care about me, but I think what I was saying in the post is that you can't truly care about me if you don't recognize um that Black Lives Matter. If you try to say, what's the point of trying to say Black Lives Matter, if you try to completely negate the need to say that Black Lives Matter, you're ignoring a list of injustice and struggles that I personally go through, as do all other Black men and women go through on a daily basis all throughout their lives. You're just completely pretending as though it doesn't exist. And so, how can you truly care about me if you just look off to the side of that entire side of my life? I mean, it is a part of my life. It can't just be separated.
Were you surprised by the response you got on Facebook? I think one
So,
of
so surprised. I mean, recently, the past week or two, the support, I mean, yeah, to put it in the words of certain friends, I'm surrounded by uh, a wealth of people and friends who love me and support me, and they're absolutely right. I mean, the support I've gotten from friends recently, it's just been overwhelmingly um, heartwarming. It's really made my heart so full in these times. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember the first incident that you would call racism directed toward you?
Um, no, I don't think it really would be possible for anyone to recognize the first, because um honestly, it starts, I think it starts almost immediately from birth. I was recently giving me and a couple other Black colleagues, we were recently giving just a meeting, a Zoom meeting like this, about our experiences as Black people in this country, um, to our musical friends and family. And a couple of days before the meeting, I was just thinking, man, I'm not really sure what I would talk about. Not really sure if I've experienced that much. I might have like a couple of things to talk about. And I started writing just a little bit about, what I might talk about. And it wasn't until I started, putting pen to paper and just actually, I guess, brainstorming, that I realized there's a wealth of just experiences and memories. And I think it's almost comical how difficult it was for me to think about it. It's not that these events and things stand out in our minds as, if someone were to ask you, what's happened to you, can you tell us an experience of racism? I don't think we just have, like five events just sitting in our mind, like, oh, well, of course that happened and this happened. It's I think it's because it's so truly integrated into our life that it's so hard to actually pick it out. It is so normal in our lives that you really have to think about it to realize all the things that have been happening to you. Um, I mean, it comes from the very beginning. I'd say for most kids, you could say that one of the first instances of racism is just okay. So for example, many kids get like the birds and the bees talk from their parents about. They remember, oh yeah, of course. I'd say probably all black children remember and still constantly get to talk from their parents about how to act around the police because we're told to act, certain ways. This I feel like everything that's happening in the news and the way people are seeing the police now act towards people of color, black people specifically. Um, it might be new to people now, there's being light shed on it, but I'd say for the black community, this has been, nothing new. We've known this since we're born. We're taught this from birth. We're warned and not to do this, not to wear a tank top out at night, not to look suspicious, not to wear hoodies, be extremely cautious around the police, do and this and that and this and that. We're conditioned for this. We know our situation as soon as we're born, and we know that we have to act certain ways if we want to have a better chance at surviving our encounters with the police.
And in your post, you say, "Don't get me started about the classical music world." Get started.
um, Honestly, the biggest thing I have to say about the classical music world, um, there's a lot I could say, but I, one of the biggest things for me was um, around the time I was getting ready for um, school auditions, college auditions, conservatory auditions. Um, when I would tell people that the school that I was applying for, I'd always get the phrase, you're black, you're totally fine, but you have nothing to worry about. Um, and maybe they were right, but that's really beyond the point. Saying that completely diminishes any and all work that I would have to put towards this goal. This is nothing easy, as I'm sure everyone knows, but for you to just say that because of my skin color, I either don't have to work at all or any work I do, it doesn't matter. And all my accomplishments can just be um, written off because of my skin color. So you've just already just said, you're not really working for anything. You have your skin color, so therefore your work, your musical ability means nothing. And at the time, growing up, it was kind of something that I heard so often, and it was usually just said in a humorous way. I don't think anyone really meant it in a harmful way. That's usually not how I took it, and I even joked about it myself. Um, but later down the road, when it came to school auditions, I realized it kind of messed with my head. As you would imagine, after going to auditions, I'd wonder and getting accepted, I'd wonder like, it's this acceptance. First of all, I'd be so excited. I mean, I remember when I first got my acceptance from Curtis. That was the very first school acceptance I got, and I was ecstatic. And pretty much almost immediately, I was thinking, this 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 could never happen. I could never be accepted into Curtis, which I'm sure most people would think. But um, I instantly thought, well, I probably just only got accepted because I'm black. I mean, wh- did my musical ability, did my musical voice even have a part in what I did? Because so many people have already told me that it won't matter, you know. Um, so it that kind of thought just really messed with my head a lot at that time when I was doing things like that. That goes across for any accomplishments I really got, and the more the more you could say successful the accomplishments got, the more that really just that idea just really uh, dug its way into my brain, and I mean, it really just always did and still does, of course, still does have me thinking, like, are my accomplishments earned, rightfully so, um, am I only here because of the color of my skin? Would I? does it really have anything to do with what I have to say through my music? Um, I think for me personally, that'd be one of the biggest things that I've been affected with through the classical music world. Because I mean, I think every single black person has definitely heard something to that degree. Oh, he probably won because he's black. Diversity. They need diversity or something along those lines. So
That's got to be painful because it seems to me on one level there's not enough equity, there's not enough diversity. I had it confirmed for me this week that there have been three full-time African American players in the New York Philharmonic in 178 years.
wow.
So that people are looking for that kind of diversity, and you would think to a certain level you might not have a chance, or historically you've been cut out, and yet when you are put in, there's this thought that maybe it's a token effort, for the lack of a
Mm,
better word. It's like you can't win.
exactly. Yeah. It's it's screws with your mind.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know about Curtis, but aren't some of these auditions, I mean, if people go forward, aren't they what they call blind auditions? That it is all about your playing, and in some organizations, it's all behind a screen.
I haven't had enough auditions in just the career field yet. I believe, yeah, I don't want to speak too much about orchestra auditions because I've never taken an orchestral audition. But I believe orchestral auditions are blind. As far as conservatory goes, none of my conservatory auditions were blind. Yeah.
What do you, people are always trying to find solutions, and this is obviously a very complicated issue. In your post, you actually, which I'd like to put in its entirety with this video, if that's okay. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Um, that you'd like to help people see the truth. How do you do that in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I say that because I mean, of course, there've been. I think everyone's had a clash with someone speaking about, why do Black Lives Matter? What's the point of saying that? Well, all lives matter. I think this is all ridiculous, and I think a lot of people's instinct would be, okay, you were my friend, now you're not. Black, bye, goodbye. But I mean, that's never going to change someone's mindset, and they're all probably just going to continue to think that and be, you could say not an ally. Um, why not try to help? And especially because, I mean, like I'm saying, I feel like this entire movement and topic, it's not. I don't think it's controversial at all. Um, I feel like it's a pretty simple one. So I love trying to just say, hey, well, there's this and that. The only thing with that is that, as I think so many people have, and especially, um, my peers, my black brothers and sisters, I feel like we've been doing this for so long, having to, you could say, educate people. Um, it gets exhausting. It gets very, especially during times like this when, you know, it's not necessarily our job to go out and inform all these people of, I guess you could say, right or wrong, or just anything, um, because that pays a toll on us. We're already in the spotlight. We're already having to deal with these extremely tragic things happening to our community. Um, on top of that, having to inform person after person on a daily basis while just staring at this awful news, every single day there's something else. So, um, while I do love doing that, it comes to a point where enough is enough. I can't really, if you're not really seeing eye to eye with me, all I can say is just the internet is your friend, and there are so many books and books out there. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Well, I appreciate you having this conversation with me. I think that it's not one that's often really open, generally speaking, in the classical music world, and I'm glad we can be honest about it. One organization that's been a part of your life that's been doing a lot of this work for a long time is the Sphinx organization. Just maybe tell people what the mission of that is and what they've meant to you.
I'd love to. The Sphinx organization, they work to promote diversity in the arts. So for example, I met them through the Sphinx competition. Um, Primarily, my brother entered it first. So it's a competition for Latinx and African Americans. Um, it's a nationwide string competition. So my brother first competed in it. Um, Maybe when he was about 15. I was first introduced to Sphinx through their Sphinx Performance Academy, which is a summer music festival. I was 12 years old, and I was told by my teachers at the time, you should apply for the competition. And so I did. Um, I believe, maybe the next year. I think the very first time I entered the competition as a semifinalist, I think I was 13, and I won the junior division um, when I was 14, I believe. And they also have a senior division for 18 to, I think, 30 years old. Um, the past couple years, I'd say past 5 years, the prize for that senior division has been $50,000. And I came back and tried for the senior division. I believe it was last year, 2019. And so I was very, very lucky to place first in the senior division last year in February. So this competition, I mean, even since the junior division, it's opened just a variety of doors for me. All that aside, all the career opportunities aside, it's shown me in the most clear way that there are people who look exactly like me, who are doing exactly what I do, in the highest caliber setting, in the most professional setting. It shows me what I've always wanted to see, because we always think that, in the classical music world, it's a white man's world, and you could say it is, because I mean, just because of its roots and its history, but that is absolutely changing, and it's not just that. There are so many people that look like me who are doing what I do, who want to do what I do, or they would do what I do if they just had the opportunity, if they just had the inspiration, if they just saw someone that looked like them doing just that thing. And so they really gave that to me in full force. They just, I mean, there's so many people I would look up to in the Sphinx organization. Um, and I mean, I'm very glad to be that person to other people now. That's honestly like the best reward out of everything. So
Jealous, Sterling. Elliot, I have such affection for you. First off, by hearing you play and just hearing the level of musicianship, getting to know you, and maybe partially because we spell our name exactly the same way. So I'm so appreciative to spend some time with you, and best of luck to everything in the future.
thank you so much.